In 1949, U.S. military advisors landed on a remote volcanic island in the Pacific to find villages smoldering, corpses half buried in potato fields, and children whispering thank you before being executed. American officers witnessed prisoners stabbed with spears. Helicopters circled as entire towns were erased from the map. And yet, for over 50 years, almost no one spoke of it. Not because it wasn't real, but because talking about it could get you imprisoned. In official records, the island was simply pacified. The massacres were classified. The bodies? Still turning up in lava caves. But behind the silence lies a trail of declassified documents, survivor confessions, and a war crime buried under Cold War strategy. What happened on Jeju Island? And why did the United States help cover it up? The year is 1948. Korea is just emerging from decades of brutal Japanese occupation and the ashes of World War II. But instead of independence bringing peace, it fractures the peninsula in two, with Soviet-backed forces consolidating power in the north, and the United States installing a military government in the south. Off Korea's southern coast lies Jeju Island, a volcanic, windswept land of farmers, Haenyeo sea divers, and deep cultural pride. But in April of that year, Jeju erupted in one of the most devastating counterinsurgency campaigns in modern history. What begins as a local protest against rigged elections turns into a full-blown scorched earth war, with tens of thousands of civilians caught in the middle. For decades, the South Korean government forbade any mention of what happened there. Teachers were fired, journalists jailed, and even survivors silenced under threat of torture. The official line? Nothing happened. But documents declassified in Washington tell another story, one that connects U.S. officers directly to the command structure of the operation. One that includes the phrase, "Kill everyone inland." This video will uncover what happened during the Jeju Uprising. A story of rebel leaders, secret ceasefires, mass graves, and a Cold War superpower quietly directing a genocide from the shadows. Before dawn, the sound of gunfire rips through Jeju's humid air. Across the island, 350 to 500 armed guerrillas launch a coordinated attack on police stations in 12 towns. 30 officers are dead within hours. It is the opening move in what will later be called the 4A3 incident, but to the people of Jeju, it is a desperate scream against betrayal. This was not a communist revolution. It was a rejection of occupation, a rejection of lies. But the response comes swiftly. A seasoned officer of the newly formed Korean constabulary, Kim Ik-raeol, sees something others don't, an opportunity to stop the bloodshed. Within weeks, he opens secret ceasefire talks with rebel leader Kim Dal-sam, who offers terms, disarmament, political recognition, and safe reintegration. In a forest hut lit by a kerosene lamp, the two men shake hands. Hope flickers. But that same night, a cable leaves the U.S. military governor's office. Quote from U.S. Governor William Dean, April 18, 1948. Jeju-do operation is approved. Korean constabulary will remain under U.S. command. Kim Ik-raeol is removed from his post. His replacement, Lieutenant Colonel Park Jin-gyong, arrives with different orders. Total eradication. On May 22, 1948, Colonel Rothwell H. Brown arrived on Jeju. His mission? Observe, report, advise. What he witnesses disturbs him deeply. Police and far-right militias are executing villagers, torching homes, and hanging accused leftists from trees with placards reading "Commie." Brown sends a report recommending restraint. He even proposes a year-long peacekeeping mission to stabilize the region. But Brown's suggestion is ignored. KMAG, the U.S. Korean Military Advisory Group, tightens its grip. Instead, the U.S. didn't just watch. It radioed orders, arranged airlifts, and approved sweeping kill zones. This wasn't passive complicity. This was a command. A new decree changes everything. Any person found inland more than 5 kilometers will be shot on sight. From the beaches to the base of Mount Halison, nearly 95% of mid-mountain villages fall within the kill zone. Entire communities are wiped out, homes set ablaze, children dragged from caves and executed. A survivor later recalls hiding under a tangerine tree, thanking a soldier for offering water, before watching her uncle being shot in the back of the head. Now 81 years old, she still trembles when helicopters pass. I remember the smell, smoke, burnt rice, something worse. Living itself has been suffocating. In retaliation for an ambush that killed 2 soldiers, state forces round up residents of Bukchon-ri. An estimated 300 to 400 villagers, men, women, and even school children are executed. The village is burned to the ground. No warning, no survivors, no accountability. This was no battlefield. It was ritualized murder. Inside a makeshift detention center, 76 prisoners are killed using wooden spears. 4 U.S. military advisors arrived during the act. According to a KMAG field note, 4 members of KMAG witnessed by chance the execution, counted 38 already dead. They do not intervene. They never file charges. American presence wasn't a check on brutality. It was a shield that allowed it to flourish. With rebels nearly eliminated, Jeju is declared pacified. But the violence doesn't stop. Summary executions continue well into the Korean War. Thousands of detainees are shipped to mainland prisons like Daejeon and Incheon. Most are never seen again. Their remains begin surfacing only in the 2020s, matched to DNA from surviving Jeju families. Even in death, they were meant to disappear. Meanwhile, the U.S. builds out strategic infrastructure across the island. A declassified liaison note reads, "The United States needs Jeju, but not the Jeju people." Speaking of 483 becomes a criminal offense under South Korea's national security law. Authors are tortured, survivors imprisoned. One writer, Hyun Ki-young, publishes a novella about the events in 1978. It's banned within weeks. He's later arrested and brutally beaten. For decades, even school textbooks skip over the massacre. Jeju becomes a paradise with a buried past. Tourist brochures mention beaches, not bones. A government truth commission formed in 2000 confirms what had been whispered for generations. At least 14,028 victims by name. Likely 30,000 total dead, nearly 10% of Jeju's population. The South Korean president offered an official apology in 2003, but the United States, still silent. In official U.S. history, Jeju is barely a footnote, despite the cables, the reports, the witness statements, despite everything. In April 2025, Jeju's archives are added to UNESCO's Memory of the World Register. For some, it's recognition. For others, too little, too late. In 1948, just days before the ceasefire talks were sabotaged, U.S. Colonel Rothwell Brown quietly filed a memo. It outlined a peaceful solution. Withdraw police, freeze military operations, and begin dialogue with Jeju's people. The document never reached Washington. Within 48 hours, Brown was reassigned. His proposed peacekeeping mission was buried. In his place came more aggressive officers determined not to lose Jeju. One of them, Lieutenant Colonel Park Jin-gyong, openly declared, "To suppress the riot, I am ready to victimize 300,000 Jeju people." That number wasn't random. It was the island's entire population. What followed wasn't just counterinsurgency, it was annihilation by design. From scorched villages to spear massacres, the operation bore the marks of systematic extermination. And though South Korean troops pulled the triggers, every major phase was documented, overseen, or greenlit by American command. Yet the U.S. government has never acknowledged its role, not after the Truth Commission, not after the UNESCO recognition, not even when American officers' names appeared on operational orders. The final mystery isn't whether it happened. That's no longer in doubt. The question is, why has the United States never admitted it? Was Jeju just a strategic chessboard in the early Cold War? Was silence the price of maintaining control in Northeast Asia? Or was it something deeper, a moral blind spot that still haunts U.S. foreign policy today? Sometimes, the most chilling secrets are the ones carved not into stone, but into silence. Today, Jeju is known for its tangerine groves, volcanic trails, and pristine beaches. But beneath that beauty lie unmarked graves, lava tubes filled with bones, and a silence that lasted for generations. Many of the survivors never received justice. Some never even got to bury their dead. For decades, even uttering the words 4-3 was enough to disappear into a prison cell. And while South Korea has begun to reckon with its past, one question remains unanswered. Will the United States ever take responsibility for its role in the Jeju massacre? The documents exist, the witnesses spoke, the orders were signed, but still silence. If a genocide is engineered by one nation and carried out by another, who is truly responsible? That's not just a historical question, it's a moral one, and it's still waiting for an answer. What do you think? Should the U.S. acknowledge its role in Jeju, or has too much time passed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters more than you think. And if you want more stories like this, the ones buried, redacted, or quietly erased, consider subscribing. We're just getting started.